Good evening, everyone. This is Miss Marcotte. This is hopefully the last video of new material coming out this school year. So we are helping to get ready for our quiz that we're taking tomorrow. It's going to cover a lot of different things. We're covering interquartile range and box plots. We're going to be covering mean absolute deviation, and then talking about comparing different data displays and the shapes of those data displays. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be looking at in volume 2, page 506, lesson 8-5, and we're going to take a look at number 4. For number 4, it's asking us to find our median, our Q1 to help us set up the box, which is just the median of the lower half, Q3, the median of the upper half, and then our interquartile range, our IQR. We're also going to draw this box plot so we get an idea of what it is looking like. Okay, so to find my median, my numbers need to be in order from least to greatest, which they already are. And I'm going to find my middle number. All right, so I start from the front. Oops, there we go. Front, back. Okay, so my median is going to be in between these two numbers. So halfway between 35 and 45, that would be 40. If we don't know that off the top of our head, we could quickly add those two numbers together. 35 plus 45, 5 and 5 is 10. That gets me 80. And then divide 80 by 2. Whoops, getting ahead of myself. Put in the answer. There we go. Divided by 80. 2 goes into 8 4 times to get me 8. And then I've got 0 left over. Okay, so now that I found my median is 40. Okay, now I need to find Q1. I need to find the middle of my lower half. And I picked this example specifically because we had an even number. So we found our median to be in between 35 and 45. So when we're finding the median of the lower and the median of the upper, we need to use that 35 and 45. So 35 is going to go into the lower, 45 is going to go into the upper. Okay, so the median of my lower, that is going to be 20. That's the middle number. And then the median of my upper is going to be 45. All right. And that's going to be Q1 was 20. And then Q3 was going to be 45. Okay. And then the interquartile range. So to find range, you subtract. So we're going to be subtracting 45. Oh, yeah, let me do this over here because that's where I need to draw my box. Let's do 45 minus 20, which gets me, gets me 25. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw my box plot. So I'm given that my minimum, my smallest number is 10. And then my largest number, my maximum is 50. Another name for box plot is box and whisker plot. So I'm given that the median is 40. So I need a line on 40. Q1 is going to be 20. And then Q3 is 45. So I can connect those pieces to create my box and then connect it to the dots for the whiskers and create my box and whisker plot. All right, and we can see that my interquartile range going from 20 to 45 gets us the interquartile range of 25. So I would say that this is pretty skewed to my left, right? 10 and 20 are much lower than the rest of my other numbers. They're kind of clustered together, 35, 45, 45, 50, but there's a large gap between 10 and 20 compared to the other 4 numbers. All right, so that was our review on our box plot, box and whisker plot, finding median, and finding our interquartile range. All right, now let's look at our mean absolute deviation. So, or MAD. Now, as the name suggests, we need to find our mean before we can find the mean absolute deviation. So to find our mean, add up our numbers. So we are adding 5 plus 12 plus 0 plus 7, and then divide by our number of numbers. So divide by 4. See, 5 and 12 gets me 17. 17 plus 7 is 24. Divided by 4 is 6. So my mean is 6. Now we want to think about what is the distance of each of the numbers in my data from 6. Okay, so think about from 6 to 5, from 12 to 6, from 6 to 0, from 7 to 6. Okay, and remember the 6's here, that's representing my mean. So I'm just trying to find the distance from each of the numbers in my data set to the mean. 6 minus 5 is 1, 12 minus 6 is 6, 6 minus 0 is also 6, and then 7 minus 6 is 1. And then just like with our mean, we're going to add up those numbers. So 1 plus 6 plus 6 plus 1, and divide it by the number of numbers we're adding, which is 4. Okay, add that up. 1 and 6 is 7, plus 6 is 13, plus 1 is 14, divided by 4. Now I could either simplify that fraction since they're both even numbers and get 7/2, or I could divide that to get a decimal. 4 goes into 14 3 whole times. 3 times 4 is 12. (14 minus 12 gets me 2. Now remainder still last year, so we're adding a decimal, put a 0 and bring that on down. 4 goes into 20 5 times, and 5 times 4 is 20, so I have nothing left over. So my mean absolute deviation would either be 7/2 or 3.5. All right, lastly, still on page 506, we're looking at lesson 8.6 and 8.7. So we've got our dot plot here. We're going to review some of the different vocab words that we've talked about: clusters, gaps, peaks, outliers, and the shape distribution, and see how they apply to the dot plot we've got going on here. So I can see, so clusters, that's when they're all grouped together. So we've got a cluster, I would say we have a cluster between 88 to 100. That's where most of my data is clustered together. Okay, gaps. So as the name suggests, there's gaps in our data. There's a gap from 72 to 84. I've got no data points here from 72 to 84. Okay, peaks. What is your most frequent? The most frequent here is 96. It's got 3 dots. And then outliers, when they're off by themselves, they're lonely. So this is partially created by this gap that we had from 72 to 84. So my outlier, yes, I have one, and it is 68. Now the shape distribution, this is when we talked about symmetrical. Is it the same on both sides? It's got a tail on both sides. It's skewed to both sides. So because of this outlier that I have over here, okay, this is going to be skewed to the left, or it is left-tailed, okay? Where it kind of trickles down, that's what it's referring to. This can be easy to mix up because, well, you see that the cluster is on the right-hand side, so you think that it's skewed to the right, but you want to think, where is that outlier? It's pulling your data to the left, so it's going to be skewed to that left, skewed or have a left tail. Okay, so hopefully this was helpful. We're going to do super well on our quiz tomorrow, and yes, so that's going to be on interquartile range, IQR, mean absolute deviation, MAD, and then talking about different shape distributions. All righty, I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.